Boys and girls, here we have Grandma's car. Mama Bass bought the car, ordered it in the spring of 1947. It's got very unique options because she was trying to pinch pennies in order to get a car. It's a 1947 Plymouth Deluxe two-door sedan. Car guys like me call them coaches instead of a coupe. Try to get a decent video. I don't have a stabilizer to help hold the camera still. Car runs like brand new. It got a few little gremlins need to get worked out. Got to get the top repainted and a few other little issues fixed for safety. But all in all, the car is in mechanical excellent shape. The boy that bought the car from my great aunt, that's the lady that Grandma sold the car to, her sister-in-law. In 1958, she had the car about 50 years, drove it for 30 until she got too old to drive, and living out in the country, she parked it in the shed, and there it sat for 20 some odd years. Then the gentleman that bought the car had the seats recovered best they could, painted the car as close to the factory color as they could match. This is chevron blue, and it's really close. It's not exact, but it's really close. And then he drove the car around to a few cruise-ins and car shows and whatnot. And then he sold it to a gentleman that I bought the car from, David. David's only had the car about 8 months. He wanted something to go to cruise-ins and then realized that the car needed a little more work than what he wanted to get into at his age, so he put it up for sale. The car sat for 4.5 months on Marketplace for sale. Nobody even came to look at it. Had a few phone calls was all. And for the price he was asking, $13,500, that's a tad high, but it's not outrageous for a car in this condition. He eventually dropped his price to $8,500, which is a buy. And still, no one seemed to be overly interested in the car. And of course, being one of those people that's a firm believer in meant to be, something is or isn't meant to be, I believe the car was waiting for me to find it. That's why nobody was interested. So I stumbled across the car on Facebook by accident. A little marketplace ad popped up and there was this car. I started investigating because it was one just like Grandma had, same color. This is the only blue post-war Plymouth or Dodge I've ever seen. And I've seen tens of thousands of classic cars over the years with all the cruise-ins that I go to and film. This is the only blue one I've ever seen. Most of these cars were either a meadow green or they were black or gray. So I got to investigating and discovered that this was Grandma's car. So Mama Bass, the car is back in the family. And it won't be too long. I'll get the little issues taken care of. And we'll be back on the road going to cruise-ins and car shows. And the car will stay in my garage and be well cared for and loved. The car has got 59,000 odd miles, actual mileage on the car. It cranks first try and runs so quiet you can't even hear it. As you can see, the dash is a painted dash instead of wood grain, which saved money. It has a truck steering wheel with a horn button as opposed to a steering wheel with a full chrome horn ring. That saved money. It does have a radio, but it doesn't have a clock. Grandma would have sprung the money for a radio because she got to have a radio to listen to her stories. It has dual mirrors, which is an unbelievable option for any car of that day, especially somebody pinching pennies, because Grandma Bass, even in her 20s, suffered from the Childress problem. She was a Childress originally. She suffered from the Childress problem, which I have inherited, of bad arthritis in her neck. She couldn't hardly turn her head, so she needed the mirrors to help her see. And there's another mirror on the other side, just like this one, and these are incorporated into the body trim. There's nothing you can do with them. If you wanted to get rid of them, you can't, because you need that little piece of trim, and that's all a part of it. So here we are with Grandma Bass's car, and I'm gonna skip here, stop for just a second, and then I'll get in the car and start it up so you can hear it run. So here we are in the car. Key goes in the middle down here, and of course it's a 3-speed on the column. And I don't know if we'll be able to see with this camera, the mileage is 59,523. Starter button over here on the left. Turn the key on, make sure the car's in neutral, parking brake set, and let's hit the starter. Listen, is that unbelievable? Let me pull the throttle out a little so it'll idle up. The one more thing that's absolutely unbelievable about these cars, and I'm gonna try to film it, but in the daylight I don't know if you can see, the hood ornament has a clear insert. Put my hand behind it, maybe you'll be able to see. It lights up when you turn the parking light or the headlights on. Can you see the little light in there? It's really neat. Try to shield it from this side. I don't know, I'm having a hard time seeing myself out here in the sun. But there it is. Let's walk around to the back of the car. And I've got the throttle pulled a little bit so it'll idle fast. You can barely hear it run, but listen how good this motor sounds. I need to put the choke in. Hang on, gang. There we go. There we go. Don't want it idling too fast. Now, get back here, you can listen to this motor. Listen at that exhaust. Isn't that beautiful? And I'm not a 6-cylinder fan, but that sounds good. The bright work on the car is amazing to be as old as it is. Even the pop metal, it's got a few little bubbles, but I've seen a lot worse on cars that were 20 years younger than this car. Let's idle her back down to an idle. There we go. So I don't have any way to fade videos on this camera in and out, which is a shame. It just stops. But there you have Grandma Bass's car, 1947 Plymouth Deluxe 2-door coach. I'll have the top repainted where the paint's popped off and a few little issues fixed. Hopefully in a couple months I'll be taking her to some cruise-ins. Grandma Bass, I am so thankful to have your car back. And I'll be talking to you soon. Goodbye.